in the end.
So, we all know how Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 went. With it setting the bar so high, how was the next entry to top that? Well, we would still have to wait about a year or so after THPS 3 released. I think many people saw that a sequel was inevitable. Activision confirmed this in December of 2001. By this point, THPS 3 was still selling well. NPD's TRSTS data for the first week of December had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 as the third best-selling PS2 game and the fifth best-selling GameCube game. After having 1 year under their belts, Neversoft were ready to see how further they could push the boundaries of the 6th-gen consoles. The game was planned for a fiscal year 2003 release. Though between here and E3 2002, they kept their heads down and just worked hard. Activision announced the game as part of their E3 2002 lineup. While there still wasn't much details, they did mention an all-new career mode for the game. Well, in the build of the actual show, Activision showed off the game more. The game was touted as making a lot of minor changes with a few big changes, both to the career mode and the actual gameplay itself. It seemed like many background pieces were going to be utilized in more ways that were never realized until this game. On top of the usual graphical improvements and trick system expansions, the pro part was further being emphasized in career mode. Everything was looking so promising that even several months before the actual game came out, Tony Hawk signed a 13-year licensing agreement with Activision for new entries in the franchise. I guess this isn't a surprise since by March 31st, 2002, the series had amassed sales of $500 million worldwide. Preview builds looked promising, and as more and more about the game came out, the more and more it looked to improve on its predecessor. The release date was announced only 2 weeks prior to its actual release, on top of a soundtrack reveal. And the game came out when expected. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was released on October 23, 2002 for the GameCube, Xbox, PS2, PS1, and GBA in North America. PAL, GameCube, Xbox, and PS1 versions followed on November 15, 2002, and PAL, GBA, and PS2 versions followed 1 week later. A PC and Mac OS X version was released on August 14, 2003. This makes Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 the last Tony Hawk game to get a PlayStation 1 release. Not that it matters with the 6th-gen versions being the superior versions. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 does put a fresh spin on things for career stuff, expands the trick system further, and pretty much does improve on its predecessor, but it might not improve on it as much as you think. Still, don't write this one off, it's still a damn good game. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 has most of the same modes from the previous games. You have your single session mode for 2-minute high score runs. Free Skate lets you skate on any unlocked level. You've got Create a Skater to make your own skater with plenty of options for clothes and accessories, decks and the like, etc. 2-player modes to play with a friend, and the PS2 and PC versions feature online play. You can also build your own park. The main big mode of the game remains career mode. However, there have been some serious changes with how the flow of this game goes. See, as opposed to getting everything done in 2 minutes, you can now freely skate in the level up to NPCs who will give you a goal to accomplish. Each goal now has its own timer as well. You still have the standard THPS goals, collecting skate, high pro and 6 scores, and competitions. In addition to these goals, you've got a whole bevy of other level specific goals, and some new types of goals such as collecting combo, which is similar to skate, but you have to collect all the letters in one combo without failing, on top of returning cash icons. These come back from THPS 2 and can be earned by collecting cash icons and completing goals, and some mini-games. Cash can be used to buy clothes, cheats, and some videos. You earn tricks by completing certain goals. Completing goals will also net you pro points, in addition to stat points. You earn a certain number of pro points, and you unlock the pro challenges. These will have you play specific pros doing a specific challenge that relates to something the pros themselves have done in real life. Complete the pro challenge for a specific level, and you unlock the tougher goals for that level. I should mention you no longer have to individually complete career with each character like you had to in the past games. You can play through the majority of the game with one character, custom or otherwise. Beyond that, anyone familiar with the previous games will grasp this very easily. Hopefully, they learn the new mechanics of the game. Speaking of which, like the previous game before, this game has several new mechanics and reworking of past mechanics to enhance the skating. The big new addition is the spine transfer. This allows your skater to jump from one quarter pipe to another that's placed behind it in a back-to-back configuration, very seamlessly, might I add. This is nice because it allows you to link a whole set of tricks from one end of the map to another if you can find the proper points, all because the ramps can now be hopped over. You can even land on the other side after a lip trick like a transfer if the balance meter is fully off. Also, remember the whole hitting combos thing from the past game? Well, here we now have double tap variations for almost each trick in the game. Another new feature is now skitching. This will let you hang onto the back of a vehicle, like a car, for a bit. You can actually shift from either the right or left side to avoid obstacles, and you'll get a speed boost after you let go. Quite a few objectives in the game use this mechanic, and it works fine. Leveling out has also been slightly reworked. Now when you come out of a half or quarter pipe and can't spine transfer, it's much easier to reposition yourself so you land properly and save your combo. Another big addition is the inclusion of extensions for manuals, lip tricks, and grinds. When grinding in a manual or a lip trick, you can press any of the face buttons that aren't ollie in various different combinations for variations of these tricks. These add more variety to the tricks and to get your own combo going. You can wally plant for more air off a wall. You can power slide to invert your direction on flat very fast. And the PS2 version lets you drop down from a grind using R2 or L2. So on the whole, the trick system here just keeps getting more expansive with a lot more to play with. Keep mixing up those combos. And boy, do you ever want to mix them up. On the whole, while it seems this game won't be too much for masters of the previous games, I think there are still some other areas that will really test everyone, veterans and new players alike. Many goals tend to use the new mechanics, so you better get used to them pretty fast. Score goals often reflect the trick enhancements by asking for higher scores compared to the previous game. The goals often ask for much more, and you'll struggle if you don't utilize the new mechanics. The pro challenges can be a bit over the place with the difficulty. Some are easier than others, though that will depend on the controller you use. More on that in a moment. Though I'll say for now, doing the Jamie Thomas challenge with a third-party Xbox controller with a worser D-pad than the first-party Xbox controller, not fun. Some of these goals don't even really involve skating and can be a complete wild draw here. Like for the pro challenges, Bam Margera's challenge. And for normal skating goals, see the loop goal on Alcatraz. And the damn snake run in Kona. Ugh, Jeebus. Those are the least fun goals in the game, and it seems like they paved the way for the less skating aspects seen in the following 3 games. Up to this point, I would have said this is the hardest game in the franchise, but then Project 8 happened, so yeah. But I guess this one's still kind of a close second. Or hey, after suffering through Project 8 enough, maybe this won't even seem like anything to you. I don't know. Once again, with an expansive system, it's paramount the controls are on point. While they are here, there isn't as much parity as the previous game between the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox versions. This is likely due to the new addition of spine transfers in addition to many other new moves. See, the PS2 version lets you do a spine transfer with just R2. But in the Xbox and GameCube versions, you'll need to hold both trigger buttons to do so. I'm not really a fan of this, mainly because switch stance is also mapped to L, and because there are many different spine transfer chances where you will need to do that. So on this basis alone, the PS2 version wins out. It also helps that it's the only version to have drop down. That said, the newer additions like skitching, double tap, flips/grinds, leveling out, and manual, lip, and grind extensions all do work as they should in all 3 versions. Inputs have little to no delay, and the combinations are plentiful. They fit perfectly in with the already established controls. This is on top of all the usual movement, tricks, and other things you would expect from the franchise. If you grasp the game's original controls, especially on the PS2, you'll grasp them here. They're still good, but do be warned, the power slide combination on the PS2 version conflicts with the switch stance move. That's because it uses both R2 and L2 in addition to down. This leads to misfires and not using it much more often than not. Thankfully they changed this combination in Thug, but the controls are still good aside from this little hiccup. You thought the graphics in the previous game looked pretty good? Get a load of this. Character models have been further improved from 3. Clothing textures look better, faces look more natural for the real-life pros, skin looks more natural, and every graphical improvement always keeps bringing the series up in a good way. The special characters also look cool, but we'll save those for towards the end of the review. The boards also have undergone some graphical improvements, though only minor. They just look better overall for the deck/grip tape and art design for the decks. The real big improvement graphics-wise are the levels. For starters, they are much bigger than the levels in THPS 3. It's like 2 levels from THPS 3 were put together. The draw distance has also been updated to reflect this, and there's little to no pop-in, and it's better than the previous games. On top of that, this allows for levels to have a lot more variety when it comes to objects to grind, wall ride, and possibly do just about any trick you can think of. In fact, the levels themselves contain that same variety from the past games, but they really bring it here. You got College, which is based off UC Berkeley, San Francisco, Alcatraz, Kona, which of course is based off the real-life skate park. You got a shipyard, London, and even a freaking zoo, possibly the London Zoo. And like I said, many of them resemble their real-world counterparts. San Francisco has many iconic locales in it, like Pier 39, and the levels really look familiar to anyone who's seen or been to these locations. On top of that, objects in the level look good from both the technical and artistic standpoint, the latter really tapping into that street style of skating. The graphics also really shine when it comes to things like animations. There have been minor touches for idle animations, and the levels have so much going on now. Not just NPCs, now animals also appear in some levels, and can even be sketched on. See the zoo, you can do that with an elephant. Yeah. All while running at 60 FPS across all 6th-gen versions with no slowdown. And the Xbox version can run in 720p, so that's a plus. Of course, the sound design itself is also pretty good. Many of the sound effects are recycled from past games, like the Special Trick sound. Because if it's not broke, don't fix it, especially that genuine gem of a sound, yeah. There have been additions to reflect things like manuals, grinds, and lip extensions, sketching, etc. These sound effects, while not as impactful as others, do fit well with enhancing the satisfaction of pulling these moves off. They also fit in well with the other sound design established by the previous game. There's really not much more to say. And once again, we have another memorable soundtrack in the vein of the previous games. Artists featured include System of a Down, Offspring, Sex Pistols, Run DMC, The Cult, NWA, De La Soul, Public Enemy, Iron Maiden, Goldfinger, Less Than Jake, and many more, with AC/DC's TNT being used as the intro theme here. We got a good selection of songs from these artists, and a good mix of known and up-and-coming artists. You can now turn off certain songs you don't want as well, which is a good bonus. And the Xbox version has custom soundtrack, like the other Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games that were on the Xbox. Voice acting is actually good. I'm surprised how much was actually in the previous game that I forgot to mention when it came to NPCs and the like. Not to mention the talent they got, some of whom return here. These include the likes of Tara Strong, Wally Wingert, and Dave Wittenberg, just to name some. They did a good job in the last game, and they do a good job here. The pros also have much more to say now when going up to them for goals and doing the usual skate talk. Other NPCs sound good and natural with the delivery, and it just brings the game further to life. Also, like the last game, there's plenty of bonus content to unlock, starting with the hidden characters. We have Eddie the Head, the mascot of Iron Maiden, since Number of the Beast from them appears in this game, so that makes sense. Mike Vallely, the first real pro to be unlockable in any Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, though he would be a normal, playable by default character in later games. Jango Fett, the second Star Wars character to appear in the series after Darth Maul in THPS 3. And finally, Daisy, the replacement for Private Carrera, who's actually voiced by and modeled after real-life adult film actress Janet Jameson. Yep. On top of the usual amount of clothes, decks, films, movies, and cheats, 2 bonus levels can be unlocked from the shop. Carnival, and Chicago, the latter from Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX2. And of course, multiplayer. 3 new online modes arrive: Score Challenge, first to hit the score limit wins; Combo Mambo, highest combo wins; and Goal Attack, which takes advantage of the new way that the career mode was implemented. First to complete all goals wins. Sadly, Control Zone and Keep Away don't return, and anything else not mentioned comes back from before. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, though maybe not quite the leap that THPS 3 was, is still a damn solid game that takes the series formula and finds a way to reinvent the wheel thanks to the new career mode. On top of that, it looks good, sounds good, controls well, has plenty of content to keep you coming back, and the new additions improve an already impressive skating system. However, the game's difficulty can be a bit inconsistent at times. The loss of a couple multiplayer modes from the last game sucks. There isn't as much control parity between the 6th-gen versions, and it doesn't have some of the series' usual hidden staples like Officer Dick and Private Carrera. Still, these flaws are only minor and don't impact the game on the whole, and the return of Bob Burnquist after missing from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 helps. It seems like Neversoft managed to keep the momentum going from THPS 3, even if it didn't quite get the full acclaim that THPS 3 did. Still, don't let that stop you from playing this game. It's still very good. In terms of the 3 versions, the Xbox version looks the best and has 720p support, and all 3 run at 60 FPS like I said earlier. The PS2 version controls the best, and the GameCube, well, Nintendo. It's up to you to decide which version you want. Regardless, you will be in for a good time. I give Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 a 4.5 out of 5, though you may want to take away a half point for the GameCube and Xbox versions on the control basis alone. With that, we've covered more gaps in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, but let's see how Activision handles this remake before we come back. Or until I play Proving Ground, whichever one happens first.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, click the big red button below to subscribe. Check out the other links in the description for more cool stuff, and check out the playlist on screen for more content. See you in the next video.